Hello and welcome to Weather to Watch. The word wow is the best way to describe that latest snow and ice storm. Everything in white there under the word wow didn't exist before Friday afternoon. So this has been one heck of a snowstorm. Of course, Arctic air helped to set it up. More reinforcing Arctic air is on its way. It's a pattern that will last in the central and eastern United States for at least the next 2 weeks. Let's dive into it. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. We'll start off by looking at the visible satellite loop, and you can see the snow right here. You don't have to depend on a graph on my making or finding, but there's all the snow. If it doesn't move on here, it's snow. Pretty substantial amounts of it, too. The frontal system that spawned all this and the cold air is now just getting into South Florida right now, one of many that will be arriving in the eastern U.S. Most of the west is actually pretty quiet. And all the action as far as weather is concerned is going to be in this zone here over the next at least 10 days, if not 2 weeks. On the 500 millibar overlay on top of this, a very sharp trough of pressure can be seen in the upper atmosphere running from Ontario to Dallas. Another little short wave is coming in across the Montana and North Dakota. That's going to provide another shot of cold air. That is represented, of course, by the front right here in North Dakota. Coming into the top of the screen, big old high pressure sits over Texas. Huge cold Arctic high. Like I said, that front at 6 o'clock. At least this is what the model is saying it would do at 6, and it's pretty accurate. Is the only real warm part left in the entire eastern U.S. is hanging on by a thread. Is South Florida, still in the 70s and 80s today. They will not see 70s and 80s in South Florida for at least the next 2 weeks. I know that because I might be going on a vacation there. I'm definitely going on a vacation there. I'm not I'm not real happy about the weather forecast, but that's the way vacations are sometimes. Here's the temperature profile at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Single digits, but no below zero readings here at 3 p.m. A lot of single digits around the Great Lakes states. Pretty chilly, though, with teens in Missouri, some 20s in Kansas. And the freezing line is barely visible on here. There's a little bit of above freezing temperatures there in North Carolina, and that's it. If we just kind of put the wind chills on top of this afternoon, they were going down as low as minus 15 to minus 20 across the Great Lakes states, and in the single digits in a lot of places in the Midwest. And even though not as cold, still pretty cold with the 20s and teens for a single, for wind chill in the eastern part of the U.S. That's actually still pretty substantial. If we go and we change perspectives and look south, we see that, again, Miami at 3 o'clock, Central was 83, Tampa was only 59, and it was just barely above freezing in Atlanta. So this air mass means business, and like I said, there's more of that to come. Let's take a look at what this snow did and any other snow that we can expect, including an offshore system that may affect the Carolinas. I'll talk about that here in a sec. Well, you can look at snowfall in a lot of different ways. This is kind of a nice little graph because it kind of gives you a nice little highlight, kind of like little balloons, right? So if you see the extreme red color here in Massachusetts and New York and Connecticut and Rhode Island, that's this one right here. That's 18 to 24 inches of snow at each of those little reports. There's also a little burst of that activity right around, looks like there's so many dots it actually covers it up, but it looks like Ohio to around Pittsburgh. And then back into Missouri, it was if it turns yellow, it's basically 6 to 8 inches. So that kind of defines a lot of this area right here. And then it goes to that darker orange. That's a foot to about 18 inches. So that was common from, let's say, south of Rolla in a band right up into Indiana, Illinois, and into Ohio. If we take a look at a graphical view of it, and this goes back 72 hours, you can kind of see a little bit greater extent. And see with a little more detail what the snowfall was, over the last 3 days. And indeed, it did start in New Mexico and ended leaving the coastal areas of Maine, Massachusetts. Pretty big storm. You can see for yourself the higher totals definitely concentrated from southern Illinois up to just north of Pittsburgh, and the same surge really through downstate New York and into Massachusetts and Connecticut. Pretty wild stuff. But we take closer looks at this. You can see here in Springfield, it was 6.5 inches. I had just shy of 7 inches at my house, which is in southeast Springfield. You can kind of see a few little areas there where that darker purple color starts to work its way in. 10, maybe 12 inches of total storm accumulation. So it pretty much was the storm of the season, the only real one so far for many of these folks. Now, earlier before Christmas, this area was getting hit pretty hard, and this is definitely a more, I guess you could say, traditional storm track that comes out of the southwest, but you can see readings well over a foot there from Lafayette, Indiana, just south of Indianapolis, and ending up again. It looks like Pittsburgh got just over a foot with 14-inch totals, maybe more, a little bit northwest of that town. Then we go into New England, and you again see a lot of 13. I even see an 18-inch total there. Not sure what town that is in Massachusetts, north of Rhode Island there, but that's the highest one of these individual stations reporting here. So now the entire country as a whole, 48 states I should say, 56% covered in snow. Pretty amazing. Just a few weeks ago, we were down at 19%, so things can change on a dime. The snow forecast for the next couple of days really just includes lake effect snow, with perhaps some backlashing of some snow expected here that is not related to lake effect snow, but all this has the characteristic signs of being lake effect snow, and a little bit of orographic lifting of snow over the mountains there in the Appalachians. Now, this heavy snow I was talking about on the winter hazards map, so this is for the 31st. Actually, it doesn't make any sense. I typed that wrong. That's the 30th. There's no 31st in January. I went too quickly. But anyway, so basically that's coming up here at the end of the week. And a little area, coastal area of North Carolina, and a little sliver of Massachusetts there, Cape Cod, those areas are on target for a heavy snow. Let me show you one output here. This is the EPS kind of mean flow. It starts on Saturday and goes through Monday. You can see this offshore low pressure area right here kind of tracking along. And there's plenty of cold air on the west side of this for this to be snow. So that's why this area was highlighted. And this area is highlighted on the last slide because this low could cause some problems. Now, just a little bit of a steering inland could really cause a much bigger problem or situation with that. So that's something to be watched very carefully. Let's take a look at the pattern change. Well, the mean anomaly at 500 millibars, at least according to the weekly EPS, definitely favors a huge trough on the eastern coast and a huge ridge out west. And as far as temperature anomalies, it's serious. In fact, we've run out of colors on this map right here. So if it's 20 degrees on average below normal. I'm sorry, we're over here, not on the left side. We're not on the right side, we're on the left side right here. Anyway, they just kind of ran out of colors on this map because it's unexpected for a weekly average to be anything below minus 20 degrees below normal. So and the snowpack has a lot to do with this, by the way. But so is the overall pattern, and I'll show that to you now. We're still looking at the EPS flow here over the next 6 days. This is just 500 millibars. And so whenever you see this trough keep reinventing itself with new short waves like this one coming around here, and look how sharp that gets, that's going to lead to highs in South Florida only in the 50s by this coming weekend. Pretty cool stuff, and lows close to freezing deep into Florida. A very significant pattern change for sure. And the west, while it'll be warmer with mostly ridging, there are a few short waves moving through that area as well. Let's see what impact this will have on the real temperatures. National Weather Service has low temperatures tonight below zero, where you see the dark purple color here. So that encompasses all of North Dakota, much of Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, the Ohio River Valley, parts of the Northeast. Single digits and teens dominate the rest of it. The freezing line is depicted by where this dark blue color is right here. So it cuts Florida in half and gets just about down throughout all of Texas. High temperatures tomorrow. Again, remember the colors. Look on the left here. That's the departure from normal. So when you see this blue color, it means everybody is very, very far below normal. And then the cities are the actual highs. And you can see already Miami cools to the 60s tomorrow after being in the 80s today. Skip 2 days ahead to Thursday. This cool air still is entrenched. It follows the overall pattern. Ridge, trough. And so it's warmer underneath ridges, generally speaking, and it's cold underneath troughs of low pressure, especially when amplified by snow cover, and pretty deep snow cover at that. Moving ahead to Saturday, I want you to note that, again, the west, and this doesn't really change a whole lot. It's basically this cold air just keeps getting shots at the 500 millibar flow of cold air, cold fronts delivered to this same area again and again and again. And you'll notice that areas like Texas and Florida, which are normally places you can find some relief, are not. But meanwhile, we're going to get the 50 at Rapid City. And I think that's Billings right there, 55 degrees in Montana, so pretty substantial. On the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, again, a high confidence, almost the highest confidence that you can have over here on the left, below normal temperatures in Florida. And if we look ahead even more to the temperature hazard for the 3rd of February, as there is a moderate risk, almost a high risk, of below normal temperatures all along the Carolina coast, Georgia coast, and encompassing all of Florida. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.